following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona, this is Brother Mike. I'm back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thanks for tuning into the radio program today. The nightmare is sweeping the country, starting out slow, gaining steam, detransitioning. You won't believe the lawsuits that are going to follow this thing. Today on Hardcore. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on? It's Filthy Friday on HardcoreChristianity.com now. I'll make a couple of announcements while you make that call. This is Brother Mike. I am the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. We're downtown on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. It's a red brick building. We have 2 live services every week. You'll notice that on the website, HardcoreChristianity.com. Thursday and Friday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific time and Arizona time. Both those services are broadcast live on our streaming channel, youtube.com/House of Healing AZ. If you go to the website, you'll be able to hit the PayPal button and send us another donation, as you have for the last 20 years, believe it or not. And Sister Karen's on the homepage of the website. She'd be happy to list your house for sale. You can sign up for one of our free seminars. You can sign up for my training class the 4th Saturday of every month at noon at the Deliverance Center. You can send me an email, mike@hardcorechristianity.com, if you need a religious exemption. The government has now come up with 2 more variants of the COVID-19 hoax. They're going to come out with 2 new vaccines for those variants. So you're going to have to get a 5th or a 6th booster. This thing is absolutely amazing. Israel just came out with a research study 2 weeks ago saying that people that have gotten 3 and 4 boosters now have a reduced immune system because COVID-19 cases are spiking in Israel. That is the most vaccinated country on the planet Earth. COVID-19 sweeping Israel. Number 1 vaccinated country in the world. The whole thing is a gigantic economic hoax. You need a religious exemption? Mike at hardcorechristianity.com. I'll mail it out right away. If you know someone who needs to come in for deliverance, they can't come to the Deliverance Center, send me an email. I'll send you the miracle list for healing and deliverance, a step-by-step guide to freedom that works 100% of the time. Don't forget about our Zoom deliverance and healing service every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific and Arizona time. Ready to go. Detransitioning. A nightmare you can't conceive or believe. 60 Minutes, which is a left-wing, liberal, whacked-out show, actually did a show that helped people. I couldn't believe it. They actually did a show that was positive. They did a show on detransitioning. These are people who went through the transition from gender dysphoria. A woman became a man became a woman. They went through the surgery. And an enormous percentage of these people are having major regrets. Major regrets. And the main problem, according to 60 Minutes, this isn't the main problem, but this is what they came to. A, they're transitioning them too quickly. They're not taking into account the person's mental health, their emotional well-being. They're not taking enough time to analyze the person psychiatrically to see whether or not transitioning would be in their best interests. They're just rushing through it. And pediatricians all over the country are recommending it for kids. School districts are recommending the kids don't tell their parents. School districts are recommending the kids go to the doctor and get on medications to help transition without telling the parents. It is an absolute disaster. This is Satan gone wild. But here was an interesting article. It came out of the United Kingdom, and what's weird is in the United Kingdom, that's a whacked out country. I mean, people are just bone-jarring crazy in Great Britain. That place is just completely whacked. But whatever they come up with seems to bleed over here. It's absolutely amazing, kind of like California. Stuff that pops up in California always sweeps east. Well, the United Kingdom comes across the pond and hits us. Well, here was the situation. Really interesting article because it's so typical of that 60 Minutes show and other patients who have gone through transitioning. Here's what the article said, quote, a British man is planning to sue the UK's National Health Service for granting him transgender body-altering surgery without, in his view, considering his mental illness. As the anesthesia from his 28 surgery wore off, the now 35-year-old Richie Heron recalled immediately thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah, no kidding. He opened up about the procedure, which required his penis and testicles to be removed. And a makeshift vagina was created for the poor guy. Heron, who is a homosexual, said he battled depression much of his life as a young person, and he dealt with feelings of gender dysphoria, and ultimately decided with significant prompting that physically altering his body was the only answer to his problems. The surgery rendered him sterile and incontinent. He said it was the, quote, biggest mistake of his entire life. Can you imagine that? The background was horrible. And by the way, this is what's going on in America. The only reason I'm sharing this article is because this is typical for the United States. Quote, many of his problems stem back to 2 30-minute appointments with a psychiatrist. He was diagnosed as transsexual. He was provided medications to block his natural testosterone in preparation for surgery. They offered him the surgery later, and he declined it. He was scared. But they kept telling him that he needed the surgery. He stayed on the medication, and then finally, the health service there in the UK said, hey, listen, if you don't get the surgery, you're getting dumped. We're discharging you. You gots to go. And because of the pressure that they put on him, he decided to go through with it. Because he felt like he had no choice. He had surgery on May 23, 2018. He said, quote, I didn't even see the surgeon. And in my mind, I'm saying, well, I'm here now. There's no stopping it, even if I wanted to. He said he wants his story to be a cautionary tale to others who are considering transitioning because the process is a nightmare. He called transitioning sinister. That was his term to use. And in Great Britain, transitioning regrets are now a new field of law. Lawyers are hunting for people who have transitioned so they can sue and claim compensation for the surgery. That's exactly what's going to happen here in America. The trial lawyers, the personal injury lawyers are going to get these cases, and they are going to start suing people left and right because the doctors, the school districts, the clinics, the pediatricians did not consider the person's psychiatric status when recommending surgery. You cannot recommend transitioning surgery on a patient who is mentally ill or who is having severe emotional and mental problems. You cannot do that. If you do, the surgery is not going to be emotionally successful. The person is going to have regrets, lifetime regrets, and they're going to be considered suicidal. Statistically, people who transition physically increase their risk of suicide. Okay? Before you transition, according to these doctors, you have to consider the person whether or not they have OCD, internalized homophobia, depression, drug use, sexual abuse, childhood trauma, as reasons for the patient rejecting their body. You think? No kidding, right? Duh. You don't do transition surgery on someone who is emotionally or mentally ill. That is what we call malpractice. I've been a counselor for 40 years. I've been in the counseling and psychology field for 40 years. I'm not the only person that knows this. Normal people know this. Non-professionals know this. You cannot transition someone who has emotional and mental problems. Period. All of this is satanic, 100% of it. In Genesis chapter 1, we see that God created human beings, and He created them as males or females. There are not 72 genders, there's only 2. It's what I call immutable binaryism. You are created sexually to express male or female. Okay? Now, granted, this problem can be damaged severely by demons. What happens is demons enter the womb before the child is born and attack the fetus. And some of these demons, homosexual demons, transgenderism demons, these unclean spirits that specialize in warping a person's sexuality, actually hit the person in the womb, and they think they were born that way. But they actually were not born that way. If deliverance is sought by the patient or the child, this entire horrible process can be averted. Do you know a child who needs help with homosexuality or transitioning or transsexualism? This month and next month is our children's deliverance service, preteens only. Please bring your child for help before it's too late. The first Saturday of July, the first Saturday of August at 10 o'clock is our children's deliverance service. If you are an adult and you transitioned and you need help and you need to be healed, 602-636-5800.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.